The Kleindienst.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Yeah.
Mr. Kleindienst, Mr. President.
Hi, Mr. President.
Hi, Dick. How are you?
Good. How are you, sir?
Fine, fine. I'm going to talk to John tomorrow about my general attitude on antitrust. And in the meantime, I know that he is left with you, the IT&T thing, because apparently he says he had something to do with them once. Well, I have nothing to do with him, and I want something clearly understood. And if it is not understood, McLaren's ass is to be out within 1 hour. The IT&T thing, stay the hell out of it. Is that clear? That's an order.
You mean the order is to...
The order is to leave the goddamn thing alone. Now, I've said this, Dick, a number of times, and you fellows apparently don't get the message over there. I do not want McLaren to run around prosecuting people, raising hell about conglomerates, stirring things up at this point. Now, you keep him the hell out of that. Is that clear?
Well, Mr. President...
Or either he resigns. I'd rather have him out anyway. I don't like the son of a bitch.
The question then is...
The question is, I know that the jurisdiction... I know all the legal things, Dick. You don't have to fill out the legal...
appeal file.
That's right.
A brief has to be filed tomorrow.
That's right. Don't file the brief.
Your order is not to file a brief.
My order is to drop the goddamn thing. Is that clear?
Yeah, I understand.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Secretary Rogers, please.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hello, Mr. President.
Well, welcome back.
Thank you very much.
Well, how's your Spanish?
Worked out very well.
Great.
We had a pretty good meeting, Spanish.
Tis a nice little city, isn't it?
Oh, it's lovely.
Yeah.
And everything worked out very well. So the reason I'm troubling you now,
Sorry.
as you know, you may know, I'm going to have to go to the CEDAW meeting in London and the CENTO meeting in Ankara next week.
Yeah.
I've been thinking for some time and have been asked by Israel, Egypt, and Jordan to visit their countries. I would like to at least have serious consideration given to it. So what I'm calling about is to see if you have any initial reaction that would be opposed to it. I would just go from Ankara to these places after that. Maybe about another week, and I think that it has some risks.
Right.
But I also think it has some pretty good positive elements.
Yeah.
Particularly because I've been invited.
You've been invited to Egypt too.
Yes. And no Secretary of State.
I see no problem.
No Secretary of State has been there since Stella's went.
Yeah.
And it will get a lot of attention. It'll take Vietnam off the front page for a while, I think.
Hell yes.
And
well, I think it also will. It will. Even though the Mideast thing is tough for us, we don't know what's going to happen. At least it puts attention on that. And,
that's right.
And
that's right.
And frankly, Bill, nothing really can happen there. It just can't happen. That's all.
No, it isn't going to happen right now, I don't think. And if it's going to happen, it's going to happen anyway. So I don't believe that I'll be blamed for it. And I think I'll get a pretty good reception Well, I know I've got a great reception in Israel, probably a pretty good reception in Egypt. Now, I may have some security problems in Jordan. I probably will go to Lebanon and maybe just a quick stop in Saudi Arabia. That is no.
I do them. Personally, I think you should certainly do Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
If there's any security problem, I don't think you ought to go. Egypt, they'll protect you.
Yeah. The only security problem would be in Jordan, I think. But what the hell? That's part of the job.
Where would you go in Jordan? Just
Amman.
Amman. I've never been there. So.
Just to see the king.
Well, go and get the tank. He's got to get the tank. Yeah.
Well, I won't make...
No, I see. I feel that you've got to decide. If you think it's a good idea, you go.
All right. I won't make a decision until we checked it out pretty carefully. But I didn't want to do it if you saw any...
Not at all. No, I think it's a very good thing to sort of put the spotlight of attention out there. And if something could come out of it, it'd be great.
Well, we may, something may come out of it.
Right.
You can't tell. And I'll downplay the importance of it in my background.
To say that it's a trip for the purpose of touching base in these areas.
Yeah.
Just talking with this matter over and so forth.
In response to an invitation by all of them. See, it's the first time that the president of Egypt has asked her.
Have you ever been to Israel?
No.
Mm-hmm. The food's lousy, but otherwise it's all right.
I'm I've got to go to a party that George Meany is having right now. Anything you want me to tell him?
Well, I met with the building trades leaders today. Told them we were all for them. That was going to be a big... I said, I know you were displeased with Davis Bacon, but now we've rescinded that, and it's going to be a big year. Construction's going up, the market's going up, everything's going up. You guys just got to be reasonable, and you'll get a big piece of it. So, and I also told them this. I said, I know that some people said, well, we shouldn't meet with you because you disagreed with what we did on this, but I said, I will always be grateful that when many others were deserting, that the building trades, the hard hats, and George Meany stood firmly with us in foreign policy, and for that reason, whatever you say on other things, you're always welcome here. Yes. And that made a great impression on him. That's good. And George knows that, too. I had him to breakfast even after he blasted us.
Right. You remember the meeting we had about improving our labor attack?
I know. I got a memorandum on it from you.
Well, that's part of the reason we're getting rid of the old fellow we have here, and we're putting in a new man, and I'm going to talk to George about the new man.
And tell him that he did it.
Of course I will. Yeah.
Right. Where is your meeting? You're going to the building trades meeting then?
Well, I'm just going to the beginning. Well, it's a meeting, really. No, it's a meeting for George Delaney. The fellow was here, but they'll have a lot of their labor people there. George Meany's having a big day for him. Right. I'm just going for the cocktails and
right. Well, you know, one thing that's amusing is that to me is that the way that China thing really got our liberal friends all up in a tizzy, isn't it? You know, it shows you how they react to anything. It doesn't have to mean a thing.
That's right.
They want peace.
It does demonstrate what we talked about last time, how I get a lot of credit for very little.
That's right. Okay. Well, good luck.
Thank you.
Bye.
Please.
Haldeman, please.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Yeah.
Mr.
Yes, sir. I think it would be a good thing tomorrow. I don't know what's on the schedule for the legislative leaders meeting, but why don't we have George Schultz take 10 minutes, tell him at the beginning, just for a very upbeat, optimistic view on the economy. Okay? Not McCracken. I don't want McCracken, and don't worry about hurt feelings. And, but I think George is the guy, don't you, to do it? Oh, sure. Yeah. And he knows. He can just give the really upbeat things, because let these guys get a little feel of the thing. You know, they may not follow these things as closely, and they don't know. Incidentally, you were right about the market. It went to 948 today. Yeah. It's unbelievable. And on 18 million shares. Yeah. But truly unbelievable the way that thing has moved along. And it's, of course, the reason it's moving, Bob, is that these guys, they look at what the pessimists say and they look what the optimists say, and they're coming down on the side of the optimists. They're more optimistic about the long-range view. Don't you think that's it? Sure. And I think that if anybody had told you 2 months ago, even a month ago, you know, remember when everybody was down in the mouth about the economy and we're going to have a tax reduction or some damn thing, you know, and maybe we still have to, but it doesn't look like it. See what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Particularly if it starts to move. And but George can hit a few figures. Okay, good. And I think it's a good idea. Because he likes to do it, and it's he can just be there and tell him to really give him upbeat, just the sales point. He doesn't need to balance anything out with these characters. Just give him things that are optimistic and things are going great. Okay. All right. Secretary Connally, please.
Yes, sir.
And you and Abe. Yeah.
I have Secretary Connally.
Oh, yes, sir. Hi, John. I'm sitting here talking with Cliff Harden and Abe Lincoln about the Texas trip. They're going to leave tomorrow. Yes, sir. Pete Flanagan's with them. Yes. I think it would be a good thing if they just came over to your shop when they finish here in a few minutes and check in with you and show you, you know, they've got the maps and the places they're going to go and the things they're going to do and so forth. And I've just told them we just released $10 million from the budget from something or other. I mean, and OMB. We got that done. But would you do that? Yes, sir. Because Cliff said he talked to you last week, but I don't think he's talked to you. He said he hadn't talked to you since you returned. That's correct. I think it's good you're not going. I think for you to get... I think it's better. It'll look otherwise, well, you know what I mean. And after all, it's not my bailiwick. You know. That's right. And so if you... could you see them if they come over to your shop? Yes, sir. Fine. Well, way, sir. They can come... Anytime. They'll come across the street. All right, fine. Thank you.
Yes, Pete.
Yeah. Hughes? General Hughes?
Fine, thank you.
Yeah.
General Hughes, sir.
Yeah. Yes, sir, Mr. President. Could you lay on a bigger plane for this trip to Texas? I may have to add 2 or 3 people to it if you got one available. Bigger than Jetstar.
Oh, yes, sir. What we plan to do was to take your backup plane, 970, which is roughly the same size as yours, going to carry more people.
You're going to take 970?
I thought we'd back up because of I figured there'd be a pretty big going.
My point is then they will go in 970.
That was our plan when I talked to
fine.
To Ken. I think that way they're both presidentially painted, and it's
but have 970, which will look like Air Force One.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Right, take them in 970, and then I'll tell the secretary to add anybody he wants.
Yes, sir.
Good.
We're up to about 60 people.
Great. Fine. Only on myself. Mahon, George Mahon.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Mahon, hello.
Yes, I have Congressman George Mahon.
Yeah.
President.
Hello.
Mr. President.
Hi, George. How are you?
Fine.
I don't want to bother you. I'm sitting here talking to Cliff Harden and Abe Lincoln. They're going down tomorrow to your country. Yeah. And they've got all the authority. They're going over now to talk to John Connally to see what further thing he has to report. They told me they'd invited you. You couldn't go, but I want you to know they're going to look at the thing, and there's anything the law allows, we're going to do.
I think I appreciate you calling, Mr. President. We are so involved that I didn't plan to go down,
right,
particularly since they don't feel it's necessary to stop in my area at Lubbock, and I don't either.
But they're not going to stop at Lubbock, huh?
No, they're going to stop at Amarillo.
Amarillo.
And
I see.
Price is going with them, which I think is very
Price, that's the other.
now,
Fine.
Here is the thing. I don't think we ought to let my Texas friends stampede us on these matters.
Yeah.
We have not had rain for a long time, but we had a pretty general rain, and this may be the beginning of more rain. And I don't want to be talking against doing anything
I understand.
properly.
Well, what we're not doing, we cannot declare it a disaster area.
If you declare it a major disaster area, that's just going a little too far.
Well, what will happen then, we'll have to declare Southern California, Florida, and perhaps Arizona. And you see, and then you're triggering, of course, unemployment insurance and a lot of other things that are very, very serious.
Well, I think that if I believe that Cliff and Abe ought to be interested and show concern and all that, but not overcommit us because
they're going to commit for everything short of a major disaster.
I think that's fine.
In other words, loans and grain and all that sort of thing. Hay to the extent we can find it. There's no hay in the country, though. I understand.
That's a real problem.
Right.
But if we have a little more rain, they'll begin to. What we haven't wanted to do was see the cattle market break.
Right.
And this drought is going to help postpone any break in the cattle market, and some feed can be found, not enough, I'm sure. Mr. President, I appreciate your call. And
Good.
I'm
all right.
grateful that
they say, incidentally, they could stop at Lubbock if you want them to.
No, I just don't think it's necessary.
All right.
It would be very inconvenient for me to try to go, and I wouldn't want them to go unless I...
All right, swell. Well, anyway, I just want you to know we were thinking about you.
You're always most kind.
All right, thank you. Goodbye. Good time. No, I don't want to cancel it. Get Mr. Mitchell, secretary, please.
Yes, sir.
Attorney General, secretary.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
I have Mrs. Morrison on. Hello?
Hello.
Yes, sir.
This is Sue.
Yes.
It is.
Oh, goodness, they said the president, and I didn't know how I was going to talk.
Yeah, just a minute. Hello?
Yes, Mr. President.
Yeah, I wanted to see what the Attorney General's schedule was tomorrow morning. Would you check it to see what you got for him?
Aye, sir.
Up between say 9 and 11. How's he look?
From 9:30 to 11:30, he's free, Mr. President.
He's free?
Yes, sir.
9:30. What's he doing before 9:30?
He is to speak at the HEW staff meeting. That's a very...
HEW staff meeting?
Yes, sir.
Well, he should not cancel that. And be through at 9:30?
Yes, sir. He's scheduled to be through at 9:30, so he could be at your office by 9:45.
Well, what is this thing here? 11:30. 9:45. Huh?
Yes, sir.
Well, let's see. Well, fine. Why don't you come over after that staff meeting? After you've done the HEW meeting, would that be a better time or the afternoon? 4-H. What do I do? The 4-H at 3:30? How is he? What's his schedule in the afternoon at 4 o'clock?
4 o'clock he's free, Mr. President.
That's better. It'll be freer because in the morning I got Henry and all those other. All right, you mark him off if you can work me in, will you?
I certainly will.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, please.
Haldeman, please.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Yes, sir. I didn't want to mention it while Henry was there, but I think the real weakness of the meeting today was that Clark probably subconsciously felt that he had to have the fellows like Baker and all the others, or about 4 or 5 of them, tell me that we had to end the war. And that, so therefore he wanted them to, because he had told me that, of course, and he wanted them to tell me. Well, now, God damn it, he didn't have to do that, you see. I knew that before. And Clark should have finessed that in advance. And you've got to have a candid talk with Clark on this. Talk to him. I knew what the war. I knew what they all felt about the war. I knew it more deeply than they did. I've forgotten more about politics than they'll ever learn. But Clark, sat there and he's with egg on his face, but he sort of thought, well, this is great here. Finally, Baker is telling him what he ought to hear, and Garney's telling him what he ought to hear, and Boggs is telling him what he want to hear. See my point? Yeah. Now, maybe I'm unfair, but I just really feel that was Clark's mistake. That he was really trying to get across to me something I already knew, and that somebody, maybe you or somebody else, didn't tell him, for Christ's sakes. I knew all that stuff. And the purpose of this meeting was to gung these guys up to, to stand up for something. Now, if they're going to be just a bunch of old farts, screw them. That's my attitude.
Okay. I'll cover that with him, because I don't think I know that isn't what he intended, because what did he intend? Because he mentioned afterwards that he was concerned that they had.
I don't mind their raising the question. The point is that he should not have instigated him to raise it. And I think he did, because he felt that I hadn't heard it. God damn it, Bob, I read all of his memoranda, and I read George Bush's memoranda, and I read the press. I know more about this than Clark will ever learn. You know that. Sure. So why does he have to have them come in and tell me this?
Well, I honestly don't think he did, but maybe he did.
Well, then, have a talk with him. Right. Fine. In the meantime, for God's sakes, get out the polls. I mean, why do we take them unless we get them out? Yep.
Please.
Dr. Kissinger, please.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. President, Dr. Kissinger's in the Situation Room in a meeting, and the secretary is getting a note to him.
All right, when it's convenient.
All right, sir.
Hello.
Dr. Kissinger, sir. There you are.
Hello, Henry.
Mr. President.
Are you having a meeting tonight?
Well, one of my former State Department employees is now a professor in residence at Georgetown, and he brought some of his students by.
Oh, I see. Fine.
And that's just for go in a few more minutes.
Oh, that's fine. Fine. Well, I wanted to tell you that two things. One, you must not be concerned, as I told you earlier, about the babbling of these senators.
Oh, I'm not, Mr.
They always babble. But the second thing is that the guy that I think has talked to them along these lines is Laird. Laird is one who's always playing both sides, and you've got to keep Laird hard and tough and fast.
That's right. Well, Mr. President, I'm wondering, last week you suggested having perhaps a breakfast with Laird, and he couldn't do it because he was gone. He was in New York.
Yeah.
I think it might be good for his morale if he at least had a chance to see you at some point.
Fine. Well, we'll have it Thursday morning.
Okay. I think it'd be
Thursday morning. I can't do it tomorrow morning. That's too late notice for him. But Thursday morning, we'd have him in for breakfast.
Right, and I will do my best on his. I think you're right. If
he's talking, he talks around to fellows like Baker and Gurney and the rest, and says, "Well, we shouldn't have done the Laos thing." You know how Blaird plays it both ways. I advised against it, but they insisted. Even though all that sort of thing. That's the whole gimmick here, friend. You know, Henry. What's really involved is that both the state and defense are trying to play the Laos thing as if they advised against it was a great mistake and this and that. If we hadn't done that, everything would be hunky-dory. Of course, they don't look forward to see what would have been if we hadn't done it, see?
Exactly. We'd then have the problem of, I think if we had on television every night North Vietnamese troops in Hue, that'd be even worse.
I know. The point is that it was a decision. We've made it. It's done now. Right. And now everybody's got to stick by it.
Right.
And as a matter of fact, it's turning out very well. But
I don't think we would have had the Chinese move.
That's right. But the point is that we have to realize that Laird in particular must stand up,
right,
be counted in this sort of thing, and he's got to tell the others. This is
right,
because these fellows. Well, it's true, though. They must get, Baker's an honest man, and so is Gurney, and they're reporting their mail and their editors and the rest. Although that's still a small section of what they hear from. Yeah. Because we polled the whole country. We know what it stands for.
Right. I think that's... I'm sure that is right, Mr. President, and I think that in the next few weeks we may get a turn in that situation.
Right. But Laird is very key to this because he's got to stand up, and then we, of course, have got to recognize the realities of life and move with it very effectively and affirmatively on our own so that we don't let these other people take it away from us.
Right.
Okay.
Right, Mr. President. Thank you.
Happy dear.
Colson?
Certainly.
Hello.
I have Mr. Colson for you.
Yeah.
There you are.
Well, what's new in your front?
Well, we have a few things going, Mr. President. We have Mr. Saxbe, Senator Saxbe, going on the television on the Today Show in the morning to pick up a little more of the McCloskey and line and talk a little bit more about his conversion, which I think is good, very healthy. We've had I thought you'd be interested. We've had quite a fascinating reaction to your Williamsburg speech. Mm-hmm. I've had calls from people outside who are pretty good political barometers for me around the country who say that one really just scored points. You
mean the welfare thing?
The welfare thing. It just hit a nerve. I had a friend of mine from Boston call me tomorrow.
Well, how'd they see it, though? Did they read about it or hear about it or what?
Read about it, saw it on television. Got the basic line about people working. For example, a friend of mine in Boston who's a darn good politician said that it was just a topic of conversation everywhere. One of those speeches that catches hold. And I was surprised because I didn't think from the initial press that we'd get that kind of reaction. But excellent reaction.
Well, it's the right thing. You see, HEW is against it. All of our little, people in the staff are against it because they said, you're going to make all the welfare recipients mad. And I said, to hell with them. They're wrong. So we'll do it.
Well, it's the kind of thing where every now and then you have to be against something that is very unpopular. And people who don't work are just damned unpopular.
All right.
And I think the way you did it... apparently, as I say, I was surprised today to get so many calls from people on the outside who reacted as strongly as they did, which I thought was excellent.
Good.
I've had good playback from the
Hardhats.
From the Hardhats, yes, sir.
That's good.
Going up there tonight, they're having a little gathering, an after-dinner gathering.
You're going up?
I'm going up to meet with them and spend some time with them, but. The reaction to last night's meeting, that closing line of yours, really gave them a lift.
Well, tell them to stand firm. Well, have you found out who these veterans are that are coming in?
Yes, sir. We had some reports today that I had two reports from two people who were infiltrated.
One is that there are 300 to 400 veterans, and the balance, which is maybe 600 or 700, are non-veterans, and kids who have bought fatigue uniforms, military jackets. I've had another. Could you find one that had? And forget. Will any press man play the fact that one guy bought a fatigue uniform to look like a veteran? We arranged, Mr. President. God, that would be great if just one did. Well, we arranged today for an AP reporter to go in, and we identified some people for him to talk to. We also did the same thing with a Baltimore Sun reporter. Right. And hopefully, if these fellows are honest, they'll start picking some of this up. We've also got a couple of kids on the inside who are going to go up to the cameras and say, this is a phony deal and I'm leaving here. Now, whether the media picks it up or not, we've done the things that at least encourage them. Good. So I'm hoping that'll come out. There's been a little bit of this. Every now and then one of the wire stories will talk about the fact that there's a large gathering of non-veterans included. Both veterans organizations are coming to Washington Thursday, the VFW and the American Legion, to have a joint press conference, which they've only done once before in their history. What are they going to say? Disavow this completely and say that these veterans want to turn in their medals. Why don't they say that more than half of these people are non-veterans? Well, they plan to. Don Johnson is briefing them tomorrow, Mr. President. Who is? Don Johnson. Yes. Is giving them the intelligence. Good. And both of the commanders will say that these are not veteran organizations. They don't represent veteran sentiment, and they're heavily infiltrated. TV's given them quite a play, aren't they? Yeah, they have. I must say I've been a little. It's bothered me. Everybody else that I've talked to today, it hasn't bothered them. Dick Moore didn't think it was getting much play. Well, he doesn't know. My own reaction was that they've gotten more press than they deserve. That's for sure. Maybe we should go forward with that. We worry about whether or not we go forward with the TV antitrust thing. Why not? Well, really, in a sense, what the hell? So it's said we're going to try to silence the TV. So what the hell? Well, they're very much on the defensive. Everything we've called them on. I don't know whether CBS has retracted that business about the Providence rally on Sunday or not, but we called them on it because the police estimates were 5,000 to 6,000 people. Yeah, and rather said 25,000. Rather said 25, but they've been good when we've called them. Like when we called them today and said we wanted Saxbe, they went right ahead. Well, in any event, let's play it that way for the moment and tell them that you've got this suit and tell them you're holding it back. That's the thing to do, okay? Yes, sir. And just say, well, look, the president doesn't want to embarrass you and this and that, and he's talked to the attorney general, and we're holding it back. But just tell them the shoe may fall. Well, they know the economic leverage, and it's all it matters. It is. That's right. Exactly. The hearings open tomorrow on Kennedy's committee, as you know. Yes. McCloskey will be the first witness? McCloskey's the first witness, then Sullivan and State go up the next day. Well. But hopefully Saxbe, if he does a good job in the morning, will take a little sting out of it. And I don't think McCloskey has caught on. I don't think that he's made much with this issue. You don't? No. I really don't. Yeah. I think he's... We had a meeting with some of what were supposed to be our... You weren't there, were you? No, I talked to Clark McGregor after our meeting last night and asked him to boost their spirits a bit. Did they? What? You talked to him what? Did they come in uplifted at all? No, they were all Howard Baker and Gurney, and particularly were saying the main thing is to get out of, stop the war. It's a terrible thing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That sort of thing. Well, hell, I know that. Mm-hmm. The real question is, these guys, got to realize that we're doing some things that the people are supporting, and they hadn't heard about the poll or anything, and nothing. It was no. Clark hadn't done a very good job on it. I want you to take it up in the morning meeting why he hadn't got the poll around to him. Well, I talked to him last night about getting these fellows on a little bit of an upbeat note, coming into you and saying, what can we do for
change to help the president.
Not one of them said that. Not one.
Isn't that something? Mm-mm. Well, I will raise that in the morning meeting because we discussed it after I left your office.
It was was interesting, but I mean, Clark must know that I know everybody wants to end the war. I don't need to hear that, you know. And we are ending it. But I think Clark sort of has a feeling that I've got to know what they think. Christ, I know what they think. Mm-hmm. I don't need to be told.
Well, you've been around that game long.
He may really feel that, don't you think?
Yeah,
that I don't really know what they're thinking. Well, Christ, I know more what they think than they do.
Mm. Of course you do, and of course Clark comes out of that environment, and that always is a.
I know, but he does. He's great. He's fine. He's doing the best he can. But you know what I mean. He reflects them, and they're all bitching and raising hell and this and that. And but this is a group that. I don't mean they should support everything we do, but I think they've got to realize that there's some things going right at the present time. You know what I mean?
That's right.
The economy is going right. The China thing went right. And also the speech of April 7th went right. It had quite an effect on the country, as the polls show. You know, they hadn't heard of the polls. So they hadn't seen that, strangely enough.
Well, that's disappointing because I know I talked to Clark on Friday about, I think it was, getting that one hand delivered to the Senate because they were back in. And
all right, raise that in the meeting. Are you going to meet in the morning?
Yes, sir. I'll be at the 8:15 meeting.
At the 8:15 meeting, I want you to go in and say, now, why was it that none of the senators knew about the change in reaction to support of the president and what he was doing to end the war? Mm-hmm. And on the other things, what happened? Put it right to him. Say, now, look here. This is a fall down. If he doesn't do it, you do it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Because I think, as a matter of fact, others, Tower naturally and Bellman and others were still, standing firm. Mm-hmm. But Baker's a bellwether, and so is Gurney. They were reflecting what they were hearing, and they hadn't heard anything about our polls.
Baker's up next time. He's getting nervous politically.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll take care of Baker. He'll be all right. He'll be all right, but he isn't going to be all right if he, just sort of joins the doves. If he does that, he'll be finished.
Oh, I would think in Tennessee he would.
Well, he doesn't think so. He says everybody in Tennessee is all against it. But that isn't true, really. He's hearing from people that are, but.
Well, of course, I hear a lot of I have a lot of contact with people on the outside, and
yeah,
I sense a better feeling, a better mood, Mr. President, than we've had, and it's really since the break in the Kelly case, which I felt was at the time and feel today was a great opportunity to demonstrate presidential leadership of the right kind.
None of them mentioned that, of course, which was not one. That was the right thing to do. It took the sting out of it, and it helped. Huh?
It helped, and it galvanized our people, but it also it showed you acting in a very responsible way in a time of national turmoil. And since then, things have quieted, and attitudes are better.
One thing you got to emphasize in the morning is that they've got to really stand up against these demonstrators. They must not, run with those folks.
The demonstrators.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Don't run with them.
It's interesting, Mr. President. We can't get Kennedy to
say what he thinks.
We can't get Humphrey to.
Really?
They're being amazingly quiet.
And you have tried. I noted a memo to the effect that you tried. And they won't say.
We keep calling their offices, asking reporters to, asking, and they won't issue any statements. Same thing on China, by the way. Not one of them has spoken on China. Either Muskie, McGovern, Humphrey, and yet here they'll crow about they'll carp about negative things, but can't even get a statement out of them on China, mm-hmm. Which I think is kind of a fascinating story in itself.
Of course, on the plus side, the economy helps us now. People argue about how much, but it's still moving in the right direction.
Yes, it is.
And we ought to get people to, but let's get a good, strong movement. But beyond that, we got to get a better system of getting what polls we take to our people on an individual basis. Don't mail it to them. Call them on the phone. Say, here it is, boys. See what I mean?
If you call a few key people, they love to talk about it.
That's right.
No question about that.
Well, let's see that. All right, because they have to. Some of these figures haven't been put out. You raise it with Haldeman in the morning and at the meeting and say, now let's find a way to get this out to these people.
I'll do it.
Okay.
Fine, Mr. President. Thank you, sir.
Well.
Yes, please.
Mr. Dean, John Dean.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
President, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I want to be sure. I talked to the Attorney General this morning. Erlichman was here. That nothing is done on these veterans. Is that understood?
Absolutely.
Now, is the word out that they are not to touch them? They're not to do a thing? And if you ask any question, just say, well, it came too late, or they're only going to be here a couple of days, or how are you handling it?
My thought is that we don't know what the Supreme Court's going to do yet.
Yeah.
We have a meeting scheduled at 3 o'clock over in Kleindienst's office to kick it around to see what we can do.
You just kick it around and kick it around and kick it around and don't do a damn thing. Get a hold of the district police. They're not to touch them. They're to do nothing. Just let them raise hell.
I agree, and we will pursue it. Okay, sir.
Senator Saxbe.
Thank you.
Hello?
Senator Saxbe.
Hello? Bill?
Yes, sir.
Just wanted to thank you for I didn't get to see it, but I just looking at my news summary and I saw your comments on the morning show, and I'm grateful. I hope you don't catch too much hell for it.
I won't. No, I think that...
I followed you while you were out there. How long? You were gone about how long?
10 days.
10 days. It's really worthwhile. You know,
it gives you an insight on what's going on, especially in Laos, because nobody can believe that.
I have asked, and if I would appreciate it if you would do this, and I know you get everything, but if you could give a full report to Henry Kissinger on it, so that we can
be happy.
And then after you finish, we can. I'd like to get a little feel of it myself.
One of the difficulties that I had talking about Laos is that I'm sure you're familiar with what's going on there is just very unusual.
Yes, of course. We know. You don't even talk about it on the phone.
A lot of it's classified, and I was limited on what I could say, but I think this Godley's doing about all he can do.
He's a good man. He's a good man, and a decent man, too, you know.
Decent man, and he's thrust into an unusual position for a diplomat.
And you want to remember, too, that, Bill, that Laos is something that Harriman set up back in 1962, that this has been going on, that we made the first disclosure of it last year in March, and that we're doing everything we can to wind the damn thing down, and if there weren't 50,000 North Vietnamese in there, there'd be no problem.
And don't forget about 14,000 Chinese.
Yeah, up there in that road thing. That's the kind of thing I'd like to get a little fill in. Well, I'll have Henry give you a call when you get, and if you'd fill him in, I'll appreciate it.
I'd be happy to.
Fine. Get a little rest.
Thank you.
Right. Yes?
Dr. Kissinger.
All right.
Ready, sir.
Hello?
Mr. President.
Hi, Henry.
Sorry to disturb you.
It's all right. No, I'm not doing anything.
Well, two things. One, there's a lengthy article that TASS distributed on this Chinese relation to us, which is very interesting. They're saying that what China is trying to do is to get the United States and the Soviet Union into a war with each other, so that they could emerge as the great superpower, but we wouldn't fall for that. But they wouldn't fall for that. And very hurt.
Very what?
They seem to act very hurt.
Yes. Very interesting, yeah.
And just thought you might like to know that.
Well, it's, what do you think it means?
Well, I think I still am fairly optimistic that the Soviets will be fairly forthcoming. If not that, they're going to go very tough. I mean, they've got to break out one way or the other.
Yeah.
Also, I've had a letter from...
Just a minute. Yeah. Raining? Okay, we skip that. Yeah, go ahead.
We've had...
I've had a letter from Sir Robert Thompson, which is very optimistic about how things
Oh,
are going.
good. What does he say?
Well, he says that he doesn't think that the North Vietnamese can launch any major attack through 1972. He considers Laos was a great success. And I have to take him seriously because he said the same thing last year, right after Cambodia. And I thought he was exaggerating. It turned out he was right. I'm having it summarized for you and sent to you. And,
well, he certainly is going to give us his best judgment on this.
I didn't even ask him for it. This is he volunteered it. Here it is. He says, well, he's very violent about our critics.
Is he?
About our critics.
What's he say about them?
Well, he said they don't realize
that it was
so many of the critics in the United States do not realize that we are not dealing with the Arvin of 4 years ago, but with a new breed. They are now good professional soldiers and in combat commands lower down who have the training, the experience, the determination to match anything that the North Vietnamese can provide. Then he said,
coming from him, that's quite significant.
Exactly. And well, about Laos, he says, this brings one to the Laos operation, which have been the scene of some of the toughest fighting and worst reporting that I can remember.
And worst reporting, isn't that interesting?
I certainly think that the operation has achieved a shorter-term tactical aim of cutting the trail, in addition to destroying dumps already there, during what should have been its peak operating period. Publicly, one may have to be a bit cautious, but I would say that there's no possibility of the North Vietnamese mounting or sustaining any offensive against South Vietnam right through 1972, except in the immediate vicinity of the DMC. It is going to be a case, just like Cambodia last year, of not seeing the real effects for several months.
I see. Well, it's good to get that kind of appraisal.
Repeat, it's unsolicited.
That's right.
And he was there when it all happened.
He sure was, yeah.
We are having this breakfast, Mr. President, with
Laird, yeah.
And he will hit you about pulling out the Koreans. And I also think that is an unnecessary strain to put on him.
Yeah.
They aren't very good, but they're at least holding some area.
And they're there, yes, that's right.
Now, Laird has the argument that we can get South Vietnamese more cheaply, but that's a purely theoretical argument. There aren't more South Vietnamese to be drafted. And you don't have to rule on that, but we have a review going on of the whole strategy, and you could just defer your decision until that review is completed.
Sure, I'll do that.
I would just be careful not to say anything that he can use.
All right.
To pull them out. Because we're pulling things out just about as fast as they go now.
I'll say we are. Yeah. Yeah. How are the casualties running this week?
This week they seem to be lower, Mr. President. These are incomplete daily reports, but they seem to be lower this week. They're above 50, actually, going to be announced tomorrow, I think 56, for the week just concluded, and I think they'll be significantly lower next week. I know
56. Yeah. Well, why is that? Because of the...
Well, that includes those 11.
Yeah. Be 56, you say.
I've asked Moore to give me some reason, feel for why the casualties are running as they are. Of course, there are always some wounded that are left from a military operation.
But they'll run 56, you say, next week, this week?
This week. In the week after this, I think they'll be lower.
Well, we're in that week now, that's what I meant. But,
in the week at which we are, they'll be much lower than 56.
It would seem so.
Oh, yes. Well, we had on Sunday, there were none at all. And I just have to look at the daily figures, Mr. President. I don't have them.
Well, we can't
at my fingertips.
tell. Let's see, Thursday. You got 3 more days yet.
That's right.
Well, the drop may occur next week then, rather than this. Right. They won't. This week, of course, it won't be reflected, but next week it might be.
That's right, Mr. President. So it would be announced the day of your press conference, which wouldn't be bad.
That's right. Well, good. Don't worry, we'll handle Laird with great caution.
Right, Mr. President.
Okay.
I'll be there in the morning.
Copy, dear.
Mr. Haldeman, please.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
I wonder if you've been in touch with that youth conference out there. I talked to a congressman who'd been out there, and I think it was Talcott. And I think our faith in Steve Hess and Finch and Rumsfeld may have been somewhat misplaced. He said it was about 90% socialist, left-wing, Eastern liberal, and that he said there were a few of our people there, but they weren't.
His percentages are wrong, but
but he said that they adopted a resolution to abolish the capitalist system, etc. You know, among other things. But
I don't think that's right.
Yeah, no, he is right on that because I saw it, showed it to me.
No, they had one on the war, but
but on the war, but also abolishing the capitalist system in the United States. They had that one too. But the point is that do we have anybody out there that's trying to?
Oh yeah.
I mean, did we have anybody to organize our people? Did we have people from Texas A&M there, for example? And,
no.
Huh?
Well, I'm sure there was somebody, but the people that are there were put together.
Mainly Harvard, Yale, Stanford, all that.
All over. A little bit of everything, but they're, inevitably activist types.
I see. Well, I guess there wasn't much we could do about it, so one of those other things.
I think we did the best thing we could do, which was have it in Estes Park.
That was a very good decision, right? But have no illusions.
So we're in Washington, it would have been
a total disaster.
The veteran story.
Yeah. Well, anyway, they're out there and meandering around. They're not getting much publicity, are they?
The moral is don't have White House conferences on youth or anything else.
Couldn't agree more.
Presidential commissions and White House conferences.
Yeah, like the Mexicans. Let's not have a White House conference. Let's just set up a commission on it, Because you get a conference and then you get the radicals, the Chicanos, and the rest take it over. All the rest.
Just got to be on all those things, ways that they set up so they're under control. I don't think Steve that was a good idea as a way to get Steve out of the White House. It wasn't a very good idea in terms of control of the conference, because Steve just isn't that kind to...
No, I know.
But Jerry Rosso moved in on it and has been...
Oh, has he? Well, that's good.
Riding herd on it, and has done a pretty... And so has Ken Cole.
Right, good.
Pretty good job of trying to...
Well, they do the best they can. I understand.
Bad thing.
But this is enough of Hess now, dude. Let's don't promise him anything more. Have we promised him anything more?
I certainly hope not. Not to my knowledge.
Well, I'm not promising anything more. You know what I mean? I don't want him in HEW, anyplace else. He's done now. He's had his say, and let him go out and yak.
Write a book or something.
Huh? Write his book, right? Because he's done his job, and I don't. It's just not that he's at fault for it, but Steve leans in that direction, Bob, and
he's tried hard. He really has, and trying to work between a fine line, but
maybe he doesn't.
It's always going to be the wrong direction.
Mm-hmm. Well, as you say, goddamn, that was a marvelous decision to have it in Estes Park.
I don't know whose idea that was, but
that was brilliant.
That was a good one. And
that was brilliant.
Really, it's made a lot of difference.
Let's look ahead to the rest of the White House conferences to be sure that we're slugged with, unlike the old folks conference.
The old folks is the only one we've got left.
Well, put it the hell out in Chicago. Have it in Chicago or something,
Miami, St. Petersburg.
Miami, right? Good. I really mean it. Why not?
No, it's not a bad idea.
Yeah, why put it here? And where the Washington Press Corps, or runs around.
We should. I think it's been a tough thing. The people that have had to go out and sit through that youth stuff. But
terribly hard for them, I know. This guy said, gee, it was really murderous.
Bill Brock was out there and took it for a while and then got mad at him.
They all say that the same thing that Eddie Cox reported, that they were very violent, the group that are there. So I guess
the activists are. Yeah. They've got this escalated rhetoric, and they're trying to outdo themselves. That's one of the problems with making wild statements, is the next time you got to make wilder ones.
They may overplay their hands. Who knows?
I think they may.
And what's the latest on the weekend thing? Is that escalating particularly, or
doesn't seem to be? No.
Number of buses is about the same, huh?
Dean says, just based on the best they can get now, that there's a fair chance it just may be a basic fizzle. May not pull together even as much.
Who says this?
I thought they would. John Dean, who's pulling the intelligence together on it, what little there is.
And yet it could escalate.
It can.
It'd be $250,000.
As John said yesterday, Mitchell said yesterday, there's no way to tell really till things start moving.
Well, we're all ready to pounce on it if it is a fizzle, aren't we?
Oh, yeah.
This time. We've got it at $500,000, haven't we? Is the press bought that?
Some have played it, and some of the organizers, of course, are playing it at all different figures, so it's at least confused. And I think all
of our people should put out $500,000, though.
Right.
Just sell it.
And they've talked about it being the biggest one. That's the one they're going to best hung on, because they won't make that.
Good.
At least it doesn't appear they will. And you never know it from the media, but the veterans thing has basically been a fizzle in terms of numbers.
Is it really?
But it's succeeded in what they were after, which is getting coverage.
They really got coverage, didn't they? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they wanted to cover it. The press wanted to cover it. But, an interesting thing, though, after covering this one, I don't know whether the interest in covering the rest may be as great.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought about that, but it may dull down substantially, especially with nothing happening. Nothing happened really.
Are we? I presume we are, but I hope that, and this one might do a little good. The Magruder Group really should bombard those damn networks, for distorting the news and to give such terrific coverage to these terrible people.
They are, and the congressmen have been doing it too. They're
good.
And hitting some.
Yeah. Some of the congressmen are full of fight, I find. They're really
some of this helps to crank them up, too.
They really are full of fight, They're mad at these people and what they're doing, and they're ready to go. But Jesus, that Matthias, that's the one I love. You just buy the ad in the Washington Post. Try to hit it if they'll sell it. They may not sell it. If not, put it in the Star.
That's right, they may not.
Buy it in the Star. Well, just put an ad in. We are disgusted.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Yes, please.
Colson, please.
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Mr.
Good evening, Mr. President. How are you, sir?
Well, what's the news on your front today?
Well, we had a little bit of activity with the demonstrations that was helpful, I think.
You think it was helpful, huh?
Well, the network news tonight, I only saw ABC and CBS, but they both carried our good friend Chief Rainwater for about a minute.
Did they? What did he say?
Well, he said that these weren't really veterans unless some of the girls that were with them had been in the service components of the military. And he hit them pretty hard. He said they'd been infiltrated by radicals.
Mm-hmm.
Then they had some reporters who, at least on ABC, did a little survey of the veterans and found that many of them were not veterans.
They reported that?
Yes, sir.
Well, good. We finally got that across.
Finally got that one out, at least, and that came over the wires today also. Then our loyalists up in the Senate did a hell of a good job for us. They were on the wires all afternoon with Hanson, Bob Taft. Bob Taft was marvelous.
I heard he made a great talk about the doves. What do they call them? The
new doves that are being hatched every day.
Yeah, the new hatched doves, yeah.
Well, we set that up yesterday to get 7 or 8 of them speaking, and I think all 7...
Did they get on the wires, some of them?
Oh, yes. There was, there were 2 pages, letter-sized pages of UP wire. And AP, I understand, had a good one. I didn't see it, but they got some good publicity. They put them out. They're beginning to learn the technique. They got them all out last night, and the wire services used them overnight and got some very good publicity. I didn't see any of it on television tonight, but I did hear it on the radio.
That's all right. That'll help.
So they're coming along. The spirit was very good up there. Taft was good. Saxbe was good. Hanson.
One of the most miserable characters is this Matthias. Did you see what he did today?
Oh, no, I didn't, but he's...
Oh, he said that, I think those people down there, referring to the White House, they fear you. And he said, well, why? Well, because they don't know you like I know you. For Christ's sakes. Isn't that awful?
He's one of our worst. I apologize for him all the time.
Well, I think we should treat him with cold disdain. I really believe that.
Well, I think he's about the only one that we can't get anywhere with.
I don't think Schweiker, for example, is that bad, do you?
No, he's not that bad. He may disagree with us, but he keeps his mouth shut. Matthias just goes out of his way to... he's a separate case, that's all. How did the House members do this afternoon, Mr. President?
They were fine. Yeah, they were good.
Were they a little more upbeat?
Oh, yes, they were strong, upbeat, sure.
Well, I talked to Clark, and we tried to get them ginned up a little bit.
Sure, they were fine. I don't mind the Senate being down. The Senate basically they're sort of a bunch of individualists and whiners. You really get down to it, aren't they?
Yes, they are. Prima donnas more so than the House fellows. But I think the senators that spoke today did so with a lot of spirit. I was just tickled to see it, and I think I don't know how the newspapers will play it, but they sure did well on the wires and the radio.
That's good.
We came out reasonably balanced tonight. I think it could have been a lot worse than it was, especially with the arrests up at the Supreme Court.
Did that get a big play? I guess it did. It had to.
It did, because they marched off as POWs with their hands over their heads. Naturally, the three networks played that, and they played this fellow Kerry, who pretty articulate young man. He's well coached in what he's doing. But I think I don't think they're making a positive impression on the country.
You don't think they still didn't look so good?
Oh, they look terrible, just awful. And every picture of them, well, like that one last night. Did you happen to notice the one of Ted Kennedy sitting among the veterans? I told Scally that I'd pay him $100 out of my own pocket if he could get that on the AP wire photo instead of just the Washington Star, because I just can't imagine people seeing that without being turned off, frankly.
Well, he went in saying, "I'm with you all the way," and that, he really slobbered all over him, didn't he?
Yes, he sure did.
He's decided to go that line, but Muskie's kind of quieted off on him a little, huh?
Well, I think Muskie was frightened by the publicity. He just hasn't even been visible much this week.
I noticed Hubert got the biggest hand, apparently, at the fundraising dinner, huh?
Oh, did he? I didn't...
That's what the paper said tonight, yeah. Isabel Shelton, at least, said that.
I'm not surprised. Not surprised at all. I think Muskie's running into trouble with the regulars in the party.
I wonder why.
Well, I just don't think they warm up to him. I don't think he's been very indecisive, and then he's played the left. He made an awful mistake up in Providence at that.
What did he do there, Chuck?
Well, what he did, Mr. President, was to the governor and the regular Democratic organization and all of the labor unions boycotted the...
the governor boycotted it?
He wouldn't go to it, yes, sir.
Yeah, well, he's a kind of a screwball, too, but he boycotted it. Well, good for him.
Well, the labor unions put the pressure on, primarily, because they thought it was a Lowenstein radical kid rally. Muskie went in and met with them ahead of time and tried to persuade them to come out. I don't believe he got the governor out. I'm pretty sure he did not. But none of the labor unions would come, and they told their members not to come.
I don't think McCloskey's getting a hell of a lot at play, is he? This veterans thing's sort of taken a little away from him, hasn't it?
It's taken a lot away from him, and I don't I don't know where he goes for his next issue. He hasn't really caught fire with this. I think that the bombing in Laos is a very sophisticated issue from a public standpoint. Public doesn't. I mean, that's an issue that
if Americans aren't dying, they aren't worried too much.
That's right, exactly. And where he goes from this, I don't know. I think he may have shot what he had this week. He'll still appeal to the kids. He'll still.
Yeah, because he's attractive and articulate and sincere.
Move around the country with the kids,
but he's a little cracked, I think.
He's emotionally under some pressure. There's no doubt about that.
Yes, yeah.
I think he's.
Well, I think we just sort of leave him alone a little. I don't know. I think let's let him see what happens over the weekend on him.
Well, some of my friends in the House, Mr. President, some of them I talked to today, tell me that if the war issue cools down, that McCloskey is the kind of fellow who just might turn right around and come out for us. I don't believe it, but those who know him well say that he's a very, very serious, very, very intense kind of fellow, and
he could turn around like Saxbe, huh?
Exactly.
Boy, that Saxbe has really turned, hasn't he?
He spoke today.
Yeah, well,
he joined the senators and spoke again, and just laid it on the line. He did it yesterday on the Today Show.
See, it's good to have a man who's sort of been against us to be sort of speaking up for us, isn't it?
Well, as John Scully pointed out this afternoon, Saxbe looks to us like kind of a hick, but he has a lot of appeal, and the fact that he has, to many people, there's something about him that has, John's opinion, has an appeal across the country, and he's being very articulate in what he's talking about. So
he's a smart fellow, you know. He's a bright guy.
Well, I guess he is.
Former Attorney General.
But he's a newsworthy personality in that respect, and he sure has come around. He's been marvelous this week.
I called him and thanked him for it. And
Good.
Keep him going.
I'm going to send in a note for you to call Rainwater tomorrow, because even though he's always there when we need him,
sure, we'll call him.
He was just superb today.
Good.
He got a full minute on the two networks I watched tonight. He was just great. Just what we needed.
Because he's a BFW, a veteran of foreign wars, you know, and those boys are okay.
Well, they're tough.
Yeah.
They're tough.
And I think this thing's turning them off, too, don't you think?
Oh, completely. Totally. And I think if there's a little student outpouring this weekend, it's not going to hurt us a bit.
Yeah, and we'll see how big it is. It could be very big, could be maybe 250,000. It might not be.
Oh, I'll be surprised if it's that large.
You would be?
I will be surprised, yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
I think if it were going to build up that much, there'd be a lot more of them here by now than there are.
As a matter of fact, too, we may get a break of the weather. I mean, it didn't rain today. It might rain tomorrow.
Well, that would sure help down in that mall area. I drove by it today, and it's quite a sight.
Is it? What is it?
Well, it's worse than Resurrection City, which I remember a few years back. It's much dirtier. The kids are just awful. They're all long hairs. You can smell the marijuana when you drive by it.
Boy.
And they're lying on the ground. And, it's just one big block that's a mess. And if people saw it, well, they do. They see it on television.
The television does show it, does it?
It's worse when you see it in person. When you see it.
Television doesn't want to show it as bad as it is, but it's pretty hard not to show some of it, isn't it?
It's pretty hard to miss it. But it's an awful, scroungy lot of people that are assembled there.
Scally, how does City feel about it?
He's getting right into the groove. Now, I think he feels that the handling of it so far has been just exactly right, as I do. We haven't...
Trying not to arrest them.
That's right.
Let the Chief Justice arrest a few, but...
Well, they refused to arrest two that were amputees.
Of course, they shouldn't.
Which was marvelous.
Right.
So I think so far it's gone just exactly right. If we can, if it continues on this basis, I think we're fine.
Well, tomorrow nothing's going to happen because the Attorney General has vacated the order, or moved to vacate it.
Right.
In view of the fact that there's nothing more to, we can't do anything in a day, so that's that.
Had no choice with that.
That's right. And
district judge that we had.
And they may stay. And then if they stay, then we may move on them next week.
Well, they'll be, if they stay this weekend, they'll be swallowed up in the crowd, and then it won't be a veterans thing. It'll be just a great big mess. They'll lose the separate identity of veterans, which is the only thing they've got going for them.
Right. Okay.
No, I do have the feeling that our fellows up on the hill are getting just a little better for us.
Do you? Yeah.
Well, there's been 2 or 3 things now in the last 10 days that they've done and done it well. So we may get them into shape.
Well, one thing that's helping us in an indirect way is the fact that the economy is moving, reasonably well now, don't you think?
It's moving better than reasonably well, I think.
But I mean, these guys know it. They sense that. And,
politicians, absolutely.
Yeah, and that, after all, maybe we're doing a few things right. Who knows?
That's exactly right. There'll be an interesting story out this weekend, Mr. President, on Mulcahy and the Maine sugar plant.
Is that going to break?
It's going to break on Saturday, and pretty good story.
Think anybody use it?
Oh, well, Mahon, of course, is using it. He's in, it's his column, and he's in about 200 newspapers now.
Good.
But it'll be picked up by others because it's a good enough story that it'll carry on.
Then Big Ed's got to answer that.
He's got some answering to do on this one.
Good. Okay.
We'll stay after it, sir. Thank you.
Hello.
Mr. President, I have Secretary Connally asking to speak with you.
Fine.
All right. Stay here.
Hello.
Mr. President, I'm sorry to bother you.
It's all right.
I'm sure you've been told, but the Chase raised their prime rate this afternoon.
Raised it?
Yes, sir, from 5 1/4 to 5 1/2, and I put out a statement right on the heels of it. The minute I heard it, I just said I'm extremely disappointed.
Good.
That I knew of nothing. I have no knowledge that the loan demand had reached such proportions that an increase in the prime rate was justified.
Good.
And in addition, I've got Charlie Walker calling on the West Coast. He's talked to Arbuckle of Wells Fargo. He's talking to Peacock of Crocker Citizens.
Good.
And there's a good chance that Peacock, who is under Solomon out there,
Yes.
That's that Crocker Citizens will issue a statement saying we're not about to raise our prime rate. We're tired of just following like sheep the Eastern banking institutions.
Good.
And we're prepared to loan money at 5 1/4% as long as we got a dime left. We're not about to raise our prime rate.
Good.
I don't know whether they'll do it. We're trying to promote this type of
Well, your statement, though, is good. The fact that we're against this sort of thing is just good to say it.
Well, I just thought I ought to tell you because I didn't know when you might
That's all right.
get called on the phone or something. But
Don't worry. I'm for it all the way.
All right, sir. Sorry to bother you.
It's all right. Thank you.
All right, sir.
Please.
John Mulcahy. I think he's in Delray Beach, Florida.
All right, thank you.
Hello?
Mr. Jack Mulcahy, sir.
Yeah? Okay?
Yes, indeed.
In the meantime, by golly, you take care. You know, we need you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and just incidentally, what do you think of these what the veterans that are demonstrating up here?
It's unbelievable. But I suppose you always have a very, very small minority.
Yeah. Well, most of them there don't feel that way.
I think you're handling it properly, if I may say so. Just it'll run its course.
Sure. Well, we just continue to do the right thing.
Good. Well, God bless you.
Thank you, Jack, and good luck.
Thank you very much. Bye. Bye-bye.
Senator Taft, please.
Mr. President.
Hello.
Mr. President, Senator Taft is in Hot Springs until Sunday evening. I have a number. May I reach him?
Yeah, you can reach him there. And also, I'd like to talk to Mr. Rainwater, the head of the the VFW.
Thank you, sir.
Hello.
Mr. President, Senator Taft is on the golf course. They don't expect
No, that's all right.
Several hours. May I leave word?
No, it's not necessary. I'll talk to him in a couple of days. Okay.
I see, and I'm trying to reach Mr. Rainwater for you.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Mr. President, I have Mr. Rainwater now.
Yeah.
Mr. President.
Hello.
Hello, Mr. President.
Wanted to tell you, I thought you did a fine job on television last night.
Well, thank you, sir.
Yeah, and we're glad to get some of our side across here.
Well, I just wish I could do more. I was going to ask, what else can we do now?
I think actually, you know, I think we are right in not, you know, we've avoided, trying to avoid getting rough on these people because I don't want to have the situation. Remember the bonus marchers back in 30?
We must not allow that.
And so I've told that's why we have finally vacated the court order. It ends today anyway. The permit ends. So, but the real problem we've got here, Chief, is that the fact that the media, although they gave you a minute, you're about the first one they put on, but night after night they run 5 or 6 minutes of these people. It's really something, isn't it?
Yes, and for the next 10 days here, I'm going to hit that every day, the overkill here as I get on.
Right. The fact that basically they ought to present both sides.
Yes, I don't know why. As an example, the 5 national commanders of the veterans organizations have not been invited to face the nation. Those are
right. Good. Well, you hit it. That's the kind of thing. Just say that. Look, let's have equal time.
Well, this critical hour. It's a critical time. I was reading Hanoi's request this morning in Paris, and it dovetails in with what Hartke told me yesterday. I went down and bearded him for 45 minutes in his den yesterday.
Good. Yeah.
And I said, Senator, you know that you're misleading these people with some of your statements. A reporter questioned me in my interview and said that will you repudiate Senator Hartke's statement last night? I said, I don't know what it is. What is it? She said, he said that he did not see any need for any more veterans legislation or liberalizing it until Vietnam War ends.
Yeah.
And I said, he said that as he's going to have 1,600,000 veterans down his neck and get him off of that committee right fast. He has us in the spot, sir. He's the chairman of that veterans committee.
I know he has. Yeah.
And here I am one day having to
I know.
with him.
I know you have to.
And it's a tough one for me to walk.
Right. Well, let me say this. We're doing the right thing here, and we're going to come out all right. But we just have to sort of sail through these next couple of weeks, and then...
I'll tell you of my conversation with him last night.
Colson?
Yes.
No, I haven't seen him today.
I gave him a message, and I want to give it to you if you have 1 minute.
Sure.
What, Mr. President, if after this is over, demonstrations is finished sometime in the next 2 weeks or so, you say to Hanoi, look, you keep talking about a date. Why don't you set one yourselves, and you would know in your mind what it is then, and that requirement then following that would be inventory of our prisoners, accounting for all in Laos, help of the Viet Cong in the north, and then commensurate with every 50,000 troops America withdraws, you send home 30, 40 prisoners. And that way we'll all come down together, and we will release your prisoners in the same way. I just give that to you as a thought.
Good. I'll get it, and certainly look at it. We're looking, you know, we've presented a lot of these things, and but anytime we can find a new one, we're going to do it.
Well, this puts then the onus on their backs.
Yeah.
You're saying to them, okay, you want a date? Now, you have been kidding the American people. You haven't lived up to the Geneva Conference.
Right.
nothing you have said have you honored, including all ceasefires at the Tet. And Hartke says, oh, well, to me yesterday, all the president has to do is tell them that he's going to pull out on October the 28th or whatever, and then they will negotiate the prisoners of war. And I said, well, why do you
negotiate it? Yeah.
I said, why do you believe that, sir, when they haven't lived up to one single line of the Geneva Constitution? So I search too every day for answers, and this one has.
Well, you keep that's right. You keep pushing them into us, Chief, and we'll examine them, and we'll pop up with them whenever we think it'll work.
Well, I know that you give these things a lot of thought.
I know, but we always like some good ideas from outside.
Well,
and
think about this. And I think
I know. I will. I've just made a note on it.
Okay, sir. And
I appreciate it, and just keep slugging.
Well,
okay.
And I know you've got a tough one.
Don't worry, we'll handle it.
Thank you.
Bye.
Please.
Mr. Haldeman, please.
Yes, sir. Mr.
Hello.
President, Mr. Haldeman left just about 5 minutes ago en route to his residence. Can I call you back?
Yes. Could you get Mr. Erlichman for me?
Yes, I'll be glad to.
And you can call me back when Mr. Haldeman gets home.
Yes, I will, sir. Mr. Erlichman, sir.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
John, are you home or at the office?
I'm still at the office.
Oh, that's too bad. Too bad. With regard to this matter, Bob just raised it with me just before I came over at the house with regard to what we do on the things tomorrow. My own feeling is that we should not anticipate the trouble and move for legislation before something happens. I'd like to get it snarled up a bit and then move strongly. Now that's just my hunch, but the thing is that last week, the thing having not been handled too well, my judgment may not be very good. I didn't really handle it last week, as you know. I didn't know. I just assumed Mitchell and all the rest were doing it, and it wasn't too well. What's your hunch? What do you think?
That's what.
Now, I must say that the reaction of Russell Long was so violent about this thing today that I think just let these guys take a little gigging. What do you think?
They showed up as a very raunchy outfit on the television tonight.
How did it come off?
Well, not very well.
The television, of course, was trying. Just a second. I was going to say, I bet Bob $1 the television wouldn't show the raunchy ones.
Well, they showed some of them, but they softened it a good deal. They didn't describe the profanity in the gallery and any of that sort of thing.
Well, there you are. Yeah.
But did show them on the in the halls and all that sort of thing up there.
So they came off rather well on television.
I think they came off better than they should have, considering what they pulled. We just had a meeting on this, as you may know, down Bob's office.
Yeah.
I think the general conclusion that we've all come to is that we should not seek an injunction or anything of that kind at all. That we should not call out troops.
No, God, no.
And that we would
don't let us have martial war about the war. Or
that's it.
Hell no.
We just leave this to Jerry Wilson and the police department to conduct their affairs in the normal way. And he feels that he can handle this with uniformed officers within reasonable limits.
They arrest people that obstruct traffic, don't they?
That's right. That's right.
Good.
And they get off with a $10 fine or something of that kind. Now, if there's violence or anything of that sort, then you respond.
Yeah.
And the chances are that the Congress would respond at that point with a stiffer law.
Well, let me say this. There ain't no damn congressman or senator going to vote against it.
That's right.
Except Birch Bayh, maybe.
Well, you see, these fellows will get off with a misdemeanor. It's anywhere from $10 to $25 for obstructing traffic.
Yeah.
But,
right.
And that's not much of a deterrent. Matter of fact, their directions to their protesters say that they should not post bail and that they should try and clog up the jail facilities.
That's great.
So this gets to be a little contest as to how many jails we can find within 50 miles, you know.
We'll find them.
But we can find plenty of them. And my feeling is that Jerry Wilson ought to be told that this is a police problem. We have a lot of confidence in him, and that he just,
we'll back him up.
Sure, and that he would handle this as he would any similar difficulty.
Yeah, but let's face it, it isn't as bad as Berkeley has had or San Francisco has had yet.
I think that you can expect that these people will be in very massive numbers, and that probably the police department will be swamped. They will not be able to handle the numbers.
What do you mean, massive numbers?
Oh, I think in any one of these 20 intersections, you'll have anywhere from 700 to 1,000, 1,500, something of that kind.
Who's organizing them? This is the.
It's a highly structured operation, and it's quite beautifully organized, actually, by Rennie Davis and a whole group of more or less professional organizers that have been at this for a long time.
Why did Humphrey take what it seemed to me rather a soft line in trying to clear the galleries, and if it was Rennie Davis and that group?
I don't know. He later went out on the lawn and talked with him, and they made a fool of him.
How'd they do that?
Well,
that wasn't on television.
Yeah, it was. He was standing talking to him, and some fella came up and made a V sign over his head, and he looked like a rabbit, you know.
Yeah.
And they continued to do that, and they were all laughing at him behind him, and of course he couldn't see it while he was playing to the camera.
You know, it's rather ironic that Buckley should be the one in the chair when they cleared the galleries.
Yeah.
Of all people.
Yeah. The expectation, of course, the Senate is now out till Thursday. They've adjourned till Thursday. And the expectation is that they'll bear down pretty hard on the House tomorrow.
Well, the House's rules are tougher.
Yeah.
Aren't they?
Well, I think they are. I think the Speaker will not brook any nonsense, you know.
Throw them the hell out of it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But that just may precipitate this thing, so that by the time the Senate comes back Thursday or Friday, the thing will be up to a point, you know, and the Congress will do something.
Do you anticipate this sort of thing all week, John? Because I'm trying to listen to the press conference.
Yes, I think so.
I think I've got to go forward with the press conference.
I agree. As a matter of fact, I think it'd be very opportune, because you'll get some questions about this, and I think you get a chance to whack it.
Whack it hard and not praise the other one. But
That's right.
Simply say that I think this kind of demonstration is, you know, unconscionable, and we're not going to be affected by it.
The question in my mind is whether you can afford to be away on Monday, because that's the first day of the obstructions, when they plan to block the bridges and so forth.
I think I should come back.
I'm inclined to think you should. I think you should be here, and that seemed to be the consensus at the meeting just now.
I'm all for it.
The Dick Moore.
Well, could I come back
Sunday night, something of that kind, early Monday morning maybe?
But I don't have to be here all day Monday, do I?
The blockage would be from 7 a.m. till noon.
And then I should come back Sunday night.
Well, I think if you were simply to announce your itinerary about now, so that it was obvious that you were planning to come back Monday all the time,
right,
then it wouldn't matter too much what time you got in on Monday.
Yeah. I'll be back Monday, right. That lets me... I'd like to have a couple of days off in California, Saturday and Sunday.
But I think if you...
then get on the plane Monday morning and get back here and get back about 3 or 4 in the afternoon.
And by the time you get here, the thing will have had its first spasm.
Good. I'll do it.
And we can then take a...
I'd just soon be back here. I like to be in the fight.
Well, I think symbolically, particularly if you have to go to the Congress for relief, you ought to be here.
Good. I'm delighted. I couldn't agree more with it. Did you talk to Connally by any chance?
Yes, I did. And he knew about Borch's opposition, and he had already begun to build a backfire on it.
Good.
Because Borch needed some help from the Ex-Im Bank for some country to buy his generators.
Right.
And Connally has to sign off on it.
Good for him.
So he's already at work, and he may be able to damp it off.
But he's for going ahead with what
he feels we have to. He doesn't feel we have any alternative.
Well, let's do it, John. Sail right on.
Yeah, I indicated to him that my call was in no way a second guess on that.
No.
Simply to advise him of what the problems were.
That's right, and that I had no second guesses too.
Yeah, well, I didn't even intimate that you did. You know.
Mm-hmm. You were simply informing him that Borch had called you.
That's right.
No.
That's right.
And he was hardline and firm.
Yep.
Good.
Yep. He just doesn't see any way around it.
Let me ask you this. The cabinet meeting tomorrow, what is scheduled?
Well, we're going to have Elliot Richardson for 10 minutes presenting the White House Conference on Youth report. And then the balance is Jim Hodgson talking about the various steps we're taking on unemployment and manpower training. and he's got quite an interesting and somewhat hopeful presentation, and factually very helpful in understanding what the problem is and
what about having somebody go on at the end about this demonstration thing? Just let it, or is that are the cabinets likely to have silly ideas?
Yeah, I'm afraid so, and I think perhaps the only thing would be if you would tie it up at the end by simply saying that you don't feel it's appropriate for anybody to speak out on this, that we ought to maintain a position of rectitude on it and so on, and just lie low.
I'll tell you what I'd like to do. I'll throw it to you. You make the statement.
All right.
Tell them that you have studied it through at my request, as you know, counsel and all that, and that we feel it's very important now that everybody say nothing, and let it be handled at this level.
All right.
And clear it with John Mitchell so he backs you up.
All right. I sure will.
Good. That's good. Okay, John. That's fine. This is fine. We'll go back Sunday.
Very good.
Yes, please.
Rebozo, please, in Florida.
Yes, sir. Yes, please.
Senator Buckley, please.
Thank you.
Hello.
Mr. Haldeman, Mr. President. There you are.
Hello, Bob.
Yes, sir.
I just talked to John Erlichman, and I agree I should come back Monday. Here's the view I have on the thing, is that we announced tomorrow that I'm going out for this. You know, they don't know how long we're planning to stay anyway, do they?
We haven't set any specific time now.
Fine. We'll just say that we're going out for this, and I'll come back, plan to come back and on Monday morning, you see, so that I'll be here during this period. If the damn Capitol is, stirred up, I ought to be here. I shouldn't be out in the hinterlands.
Okay, well, the view of everybody but Erlichman, and I thought he shared it, was that you should not come home on Monday unless that happens, and then you should only come home, at the last minute on Monday.
On the other hand, if we announce we're going to stay for a week and then come back, I don't think that's a good idea. That we create a national crisis then, and I rush back because of this and that. I don't want the press to go out there with their wives and everything, and then plan to stay a week, and then how are we going to handle the announcement?
We haven't set any specific time. We weren't going to. We were just going to leave it that you'd be back. They've already said that obviously that you haven't set a return time, that you will have to be back by for the agriculture thing on Friday.
Yeah.
We've just left it at that.
Well, I'd like to be in a position, though, that I don't appear to be doing something because of pressure, that we sort of planned it this way.
Yeah.
How can we? Well, think about it. Tomorrow, before Ziegler makes his tells the press that I'm going out, and I'll be there for the weekend, and then I'll, be returning to Washington after the, I just don't think we ought to.
I can see your point.
See, I don't want to be in a position where we have announced we're going to be there a week, and then we rush back because of the Capitol's under siege and all that sort of thing. I feel that he may have a point there. Yeah. But we'll think about it, sleep on it overnight, and then in the morning sort of develop a plan.
The thing right now is this looking at the TV news tonight,
I understand that according to John, they didn't play up the profanity or anything of that. They just sort of made them look awful good. Really.
They didn't make them look good, but they sure didn't make it look bad.
They didn't.
And I don't think that. I'm sure that folks at home didn't get the impression that there was anything very important going on. Is that right? The same old stuff of people running around.
Boy, isn't it something? I hope that. Well, I guess there's nothing we can do to. The network really ought to be taken to task for not reporting the whole thing. Well, what the hell?
We'll see what stirs up now tomorrow. They may get discipline of their people, and I don't think they want this to get that far out of control yet, because what they're trying to do is build up. And
in other words, they think they may have moved a little too fast too soon.
Could be. That's what some of them were saying today, and we're trying to turn the others off.
They may not be able to control them, though.
No, they may not. That's.
Well, let's think in terms of not getting tied into. I mean, I don't want any. I do think we do not want to leave an announcement in a way that we're planning to stay a week.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just going out for this event, and I'll be there over the weekend and be returning to Washington early next week.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And then we'll come back Monday if I feel like it. Right?
Right.
But I don't know whether we're going to know much more. You mean you think we'll know more on Monday?
Oh, sure. We'll know. See, the tie-in type stuff hits on Monday morning. We may know a lot more. We've got much better intelligence on this whole thing than we have had before, because we've got 4 informers in the top levels of the operation, and a whole bunch, I think 23 in the organization.
Good.
And in the next few days, we'll know a lot more about what they're really going to do.
Right.
And their capability of doing it. And by Sunday, we'll know.
Yeah.
Pretty much precisely, because their people will all gather Saturday.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then anything they do on Monday morning, the effect that they have there Monday morning will be between 7 and 8 or 7 and 9, which is 6 o'clock in the morning.
Tomorrow they're going to work over at the agencies, are they?
Yeah.
Well, that's fine. That's all right. Let's just let it develop.
They're going to move around to departments.
And if it gets the departments, though, should take a hard line. I don't want them inviting them in to sit in and all that sort of stuff. None of this sort of stuff. Not even at HEW. Huh?
Right. Oh, we definitely should.
Because, the people may... It's too bad the networks didn't carry what really happened. Well, one thing for sure, the senators know it, don't they?
Yep. So they promptly adjourned, apparently.
Yeah. Still Thursday. All right. Okay. Well, we'll play it that way then. Fine.
Okay. Right.
Hello?
I found that Senator Buckley is at the Sheraton Park Hotel attending a Chamber of Commerce dinner. Should I get him there?
Yes, you can get him there.
All right, Mr. President.
Hello?
Senator Buckley, sir. There you are.
Hello?
Mr. President?
I don't want to bother you at your dinner, but I just wanted to say that I thought you made exactly the right ruling when you were presiding over the Senate today.
Well, thank you very much.
I think you had to do it. I mean, these people were apparently really out of control, huh?
They were out to make a spectacle, and I don't know what you can do except draw the line.
Right. And did they finally clear the galleries? What happened?
They cleared 2 of the galleries, and then re-admitted the people who were the troublemakers.
That's all right.
So I think the point was made. Then there was another group which had witnessed this, who started a sort of a whimpering, whining, not the yelling obscenities. And there came a point where you had to draw the line on that one.
Sure.
And then they went out and, of course, made their noises, crying and wailing.
Yeah.
But then that was it.
Good. Well, just stay firm on it. We'll try to avoid a confrontation, but on the other hand, you can't allow them to disrupt the business of the Senate.
No, and a lot of them parking in the halls outside of my office and other people's, and I don't know where we draw the line there.
Yeah.
But it's an experience.
Yeah, it's never dull, Once you run for the Senate from New York, you really catch a lot of hell, don't you?
More than I had realized.
Okay, fine. Well, have a good time tonight.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President, we're trying to locate Mr. Rebozo. One of the agents is trying to locate him for us.
Oh, he's, well, I'll tell you, I will try, I'll try him again in about an hour, okay?
All right, sure.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Please. Cole, please. Ken Cole.
Ken Cole, thank you, sir.
Please.
Erlichman, please.
Thank you, sir.
Just a minute.
Mr. Erlichman.
What's the name of that doctor or Kaplan? Kaplan from Stanford. This is the one that Henry Kaplan. Henry Kaplan, right, from Stanford. And he was here for an interview yesterday with Elliot and Ed David. Fine. And they're very high on him. Fine. Okay, right. right, fine.
Yes, please.
Dr. Kissinger, please.
Thank you.
Hello?
Dr. Kissinger's in the barber chair now.
Oh, fine, when he finishes.
All right.
Hello?
Dr. Kissinger returning your call, sir.
Hello?
There you are.
Hello, Henry.
Mr. President.
I had a couple of thoughts on this. One which, with regard to the Bruce thing, which it seems to me may pose for them a difficult problem because of his being so directly involved in the Vietnam negotiations. That's something we have to think about. Now, we may want it that way. The second point is that I've been trying to think of whether there is something else, and let me just throw a real wild one out. How about Nelson?
No.
Can't do it, huh?
Well, he wouldn't be disciplined enough.
Yeah.
Although he's a possibility.
You see, the point is that it's a way to really engulf him and completely in a big deal, and then of course an absolute.
Well, let me think about
it. Outside of government, you see.
I might be able to hold him in check for.
And the idea being that he's not there to love the Chinese, but for the purpose of getting something done for us. I mean, the war and all that. See?
I, on second thought, Mr. President, I'd like to...
It's intriguing. But
I thought about Richardson. He wouldn't be the right one.
No, well, it's still too close to us. I mean, if we're going to go close, then you have the Rogers problem.
Yeah.
On Nelson, just thinking it out loud, you have a man who's, I mean, the Chinese would consider him important, and he would be, and it could do a lot for us in terms of what could happen, you know what I mean, in terms of the domestic situation. Of course, we know Nelson's sort of a wild hair when he gets running around, and he'd get some silly staff with him. That's the problem that I see with him.
Well, I think for one operation I could keep him under control.
Yeah.
And he has the advantage. I mean, to them, of course, a Rockefeller is a tremendous thing.
That's right. Well, let's just put it in the back of your head and keep it.
That, I think, actually now...
See? I think...
Nelson has possibilities.
He has a possibility, yeah. Yeah, that of course... That would drive State up the wall, but they couldn't really complain a hell of a lot about that.
Well, he'd have to take someone from State along, but he despises them so much he'd take our direction.
Yeah, well, we'd have to find somebody to go along with him to tell him.
Well, I'd get somebody from my staff to go along with him.
I'd send Haig.
Yeah, that's what I'd say.
You know, really, and somebody like that. I mean, real tough.
That's right. That's right, and he knows Haig.
All in all, of course, the whole thing that you can take some comfort in. You know, we talk about how this happened. It wouldn't have happened if you hadn't stuck to your guns through this period too. You know,
well, Mr. President, you made it possible.
We have played a game, and we've gotten a little break here. We were hoping we'd get one, and I think we have one now. If we play it skillfully, and we'll wait a couple of weeks, and then.
But we set up this whole intricate web over when we talked about linkage, everyone was sneering.
Yeah, I know.
But we've done it now. We've got it all hooked together.
And
I mean, we've got Berlin hooked to Salt. Now I think Nelson might be able to do it.
You see,
he might follow, particularly if I send Haig along.
Oh, we'd have to have Haig. Yeah,
he might follow my
Haig and a state guy. I wouldn't let that fellow Green go, of course.
No, one could send Green because Nelson.
Yeah.
I think if Nelson goes at all.
Yeah. If he were to go, well,
because
maybe.
on foreign policy he would take my advice.
Yeah, and that you could have a Green go along and warble around, and but that is a special envoy in a sense. He's
no, that's actually, Mr. President, a very original idea.
You see,
and he's tough.
And I think so, and particularly if you just have to get him right in on the mountaintop and say, now look here, this is gonna make or break you, boy. This can't be like Latin America or anything else. This is the one where everything is in the balance, you see.
Oh, he'd do what I tell him on this. For one operation, for a long period he'd be hard to keep under control, sure. But for one operation, he'd follow his script.
Well, if Dewey were alive, he could do it. But
I think Nelson actually would be a little better.
But Dewey's not alive, so we consider.
And they dodged off Dewey. That was given to them.
Yeah. Well, they've opened that up, that it is not to be just Taiwan, haven't they?
Well, they've given one of these very ambiguous formulations, but we could fix that. We could make that clear in the exchange and in the announcement.
Yeah, I suppose their reply is one that we'll come over and talk about Taiwan. Well, that we can't do.
No.
There's no limit to that. There isn't going to be any meeting,
Well, Mr. President, the difference between them and the Russians is that if you drop some loose change and try to pick it up, the Russians step on your fingers and fight you for it. The Chinese don't do that. And I've reviewed all the communications with them, and all of it has been on a high level. I mean, if here you look at the summit exchange, they haven't horsed around like the Russians.
No, they haven't.
I mean, compared to what the game was, the Russians squeezing us on every bloody move has been just stupid.
Yeah.
And so I think that they probably figure they cannot trick us out of Taiwan. That they have to have a fundamental understanding.
Yeah. Well, we'll put Nelson in the back of our minds as one possibility.
That's right.
Incidentally, what Haig think of this?
Oh, he thinks this is one of the great diplomatic breakthroughs.
Does he really? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And he thinks if we play it coolly and toughly and with the same subtlety we've shown up to now, we can settle everything now.
He thinks he goes that far?
Oh, yeah. I have absolute, I've never said this before, I've never given it more than 1 in 3. I think if we get this thing working, we'll end Vietnam this year. The mere fact of these contacts is one of...
Another thing, of course, that is important is, we do have a little problem of time in terms of wanting to announce something in this period of time.
Yeah, but we ought to be able to announce this by the end of the first week of June anyway.
Well, we'd have to if you're going to be there in June.
If we have to salt.
If we could get it earlier. Now the thing is salt going to turn them off? No, particularly. But I must say we're going to drag our feet on that summit with the Russians, though.
Well, nothing can happen on that for a while now.
No, that's the ball's in their court, and they're sitting there piddling around. All right, they can piddle.
They won't move fast, and they'll be confused by the protest in this country. I told you, Mr. President, that the most sophisticated analysis of the World Report was made by Chu and Lai. You remember I said that 2 months ago. Yeah. He's the only fellow who's understood it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, his analysis, in effect, realized what we were doing. Yeah.
That's right. But it was a very subtle analysis of the international situation.
Mm-hmm. Well, anyway, there's another player we can keep, and Bruce is a possibility too. I mean, Bruce is a possibility. I mean, it would be quite dramatic, you know. It would have a hell of an effect on the North Vietnamese if you were to pull Bruce out of Paris and send him to Peking. You know, boy, just that very move.
That's right.
That'd just shake the living bejesus out of him. And
for that reason, they might not take him, but I think they would take almost anyone, as long as he's very senior.
Yeah, well, we'd say he is.
Rockefeller.
You could put it in terms of if he were Bruce, he's our senior career ambassador. He's been ambassador to, you know, all this, and we feel he's the best qualified man to participate in this. He has our complete confidence and so forth. Then,
and they jump at Rockefeller, which is another. Yeah, it's of course a high visibility one.
Visibility? Oh boy, the visibility there would be enormous. However, what that would do to the libs in this country would be absolutely. Wouldn't that do them in? Oh God, send a Rockefeller over there, you know. Jesus Christ. I mean,
that has really great possibilities. The more I think of it, Mr.
You see, it shows that here's Rockefeller. He is lined up with us all the way. It nails him in on the foreign policy thing all the way.
That's right.
And well, anyway, that's something to think about too.
Good problem to have.
Yeah, we got a little more luxury than we usually have.
That's right.
Normally we haven't got much to move with, but
well, Mr. President, once this thing gets going, though, this is one of those occasions where everything is beginning to fit together.
Well, we hope so. We hope so. And
we'll have to hold hard on Vietnam on Thursday. That's the
oh hell, don't worry. I don't plan to give a goddamn inch.
Because
I mean, did you think of anything to do on the prisoners?
Yes, we have 3 proposals which I'm writing up for you.
Right. Well, I'll look at them tomorrow. Don't
They're releasing 1,000, and they're opening their camps for a foreign inspection, which they've never done before in South Vietnam, and calling on the North Vietnamese to do the same. And a proposal to move all prisoners to neutral countries.
Now that's good. That's a good move.
Those are 3 big steps.
Yes, and that should be announced.
That would be announced by Bruce in the morning.
That's right.
And you could pick it up in the evening.
That's right. That's good. And then he hits that, and I could hypo it in the evening if they don't give it the play, although they're likely to give that a play if we build it up a bit.
Right.
We'd build it up by saying that, by having it announced that, you know, indicate that Bruce is going to make a major proposal that they'll all think it's about bugging out, and then it'll be on prisoners.
But actually, Mr. President, with this thing cooking, these stuffs can go out on a limb as much as they want to. I think we're beginning to hold the cards.
Yep, that's true. It's accepted, as you know. We've got we're going to hold, and we shall see. The demonstrators may overplay their hand.
Well, John Chancellor, with whom I had lunch today, said he thought that the tide had turned.
Did he really?
Yeah.
What turned it?
Well, he said he didn't think that the demonstration on Saturday was all that spectacular.
Yeah.
And he said what's happening this week is going to ruin it completely.
They're, be overplaying, huh?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Well, Chancellor loves the China thing, doesn't he?
Oh, he's absolutely crazy about it.
Yeah.
And he's beginning to think that you've set up, he said he doesn't quite know yet what you're doing, but you've got some great ploy up your sleeves. You're much too cool, he said.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're going to play it awfully cool on Thursday night. I'm not going to, incidentally, I'm not going to say anything about China policy. I'm just going to say, no, this matter is now in a very sensitive stage, and I don't intend to comment further on it. I mean, our goal has been set forth. We have begun this, and I'm not going to discuss it any further. What's the next question, gentlemen?
Right.
I mean, just not say much about it. Don't try to. That's the way to handle that one.
Right.
Rather than to get into the business of, I don't want to get into the business of, well, what are we going to do about two Chinas, and what are we going to do about the UN, and what are we going to do about Taiwan, and do we still stand by Taiwan, et cetera, et cetera. I'm just going to finesse all questions on China by saying this. There have been some developments here that are significant, and that I don't think the interest of the nation would be served by commenting publicly on them at this time. What do you think? Don't you think?
I think that's right. That would be
just
the best.
Be enigmatic as hell.
That would be the best possible position to take.
And let them thump around and squeal as they will. Okay. Yeah. So Haig was pretty pleased, wasn't he?
Oh yes. Well, this is if anyone had predicted that 2 months ago, Mr. President, we would have thought it inconceivable.
Yeah, that's what I mean. What is really intriguing about this is that after Laos, when these bastards were all saying, well, this broke it off with the Chinese and the rest.
Cambodia, they were saying the same thing.
But here comes Laos, though. Let's look at that one, where after Laos, when the people over 2-1 think it failed and all that, they've had all the polls show that and so forth, and we know that. And yet, here comes a Chinese move, the ping pong team, and now something that is so much more significant that looks pales into nothing.
Exactly.
And that's the kind of thing that if we can play it cool, can have an enormous significance. And well, look, I'm sure too that it is not any accident that Mao Zedong made that statement to Edgar Snow. I mean,
of course.
Yeah. Now there's a couple of other things. We got to get the Mansfield thing turned off some way or other. I don't know how we can do it, but one way we could do it would be to, if we get this game going, is to, you could invite him to go along.
No.
Why
give this to him?
Hmm?
Why give this to him?
I know. I'm not
they go along with you when you go.
Oh, that's what I mean.
Oh, but not when your emissary goes.
Oh, Christ, no. I mean, that is to invite him and maybe Scott. See my point?
Right. If you want to share it with the Democrats.
You don't have anything to share. It doesn't mean a thing. They'll just be... I mean, the Chinese will treat them very well, but they'll know where the power is.
Yeah.
We know that. When it comes...
Yeah, that could be done, Mr. President, at that point.
The only thing is that the Chinese seem to be grabbing so much now that...
yeah, but they haven't actually invited anyone yet.
Mansfield, well, to an extent, haven't they really, through that?
Well, I think I can get some oral message to them together with that reply.
Well, that's 2 weeks away, Henry. I just wonder if they'll move on Mansfield.
I doubt it.
You don't think so?
But they may. They may do that.
Well, could you get that message out now? What I was thinking of was just as a temporary delaying action, is to say that the president is in California or something like that, and that we will be replying. And
that I've already said, that there'll be a constructive reply in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks. Oh, you told that to the, yeah. Well, if you could add to that reply, is it in the meantime that we feel that any other visits, any other visits should be held in abeyance until they hear our reply. Would you do that?
I'll get something like that across to him, yes.
that any other visits should be held in abeyance until, if there will be many requests, and that we feel that other visits by political people, by representatives of this government or the Congress and so forth, should be held in abeyance until we are ready, and that they will have a constructive reply in a matter of a couple of weeks.
Right.
Good idea.
Right, Mr. President.
Right,
I'll get that done tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah. You had somebody from me?
Yep.
Hello.
Not us, Mr. President.
Mrs. Nixon, he said it.
Oh.
Melvin R. Laird.
Nixon is President.
Yeah.
Dick,
Yeah.
I had planned a congressional, one of the ones on Monday, and according to the information we have, that's the day that they're going to try to stop all washing in the bridges, et cetera, and et cetera. Do you think, and some of the ladies have called in, been kind of
let me just check. I got Haldeman coming in just now. I'll check with him.
Yeah.
Because he's got the report from the command center.
Yeah. Will you let me know as soon as possible?
What? No, I'll talk to him right now. Hang on.
Okay.
What's the situation on, she has a Congressional Wives luncheon planned on Monday. That is a day when they're planning to stop traffic, and some of the Congressional Wives have called in to know whether or not it should go forward. We really think we ought to go forward. We're going ahead with business as usual, and if they don't get there, let them be irritated by the fact that these people kept them out. Traffic will be cleared by noon anyway, because we're having the police move in to clear the traffic. So we think you ought to go ahead with it. I think it'd be good. I think postponing it...
well, see, this was the idea.
It'd be a very
if it's going to be bad, our help can't come. They're not going to ask the help to come. Did you know that?
Well, the help? Well, they sure
we can't
will.
Party on without them.
Fine. The help will be there. We'll have them stay overnight. We'll arrange it on Sunday. Just have Rex check to see what help you need, and to make arrangements for them. He should make arrangements for them to be billeted overnight on Sunday so that they can be in there to do the work in the morning. And it's all taken care of, and we budgeted it here. So you just tell Rex to take care to get a hold of Bob if he needs anything annoying. Don't worry about the budget thing. We've got a special fund for that purpose. We just have the help stay in a hotel or something like that and then come in. Fair enough?
Okay.
I think it'll work fine.
Okay.
You see, we just must not appear that we're going to...
let them...
They're driving us out. Yeah, absolutely. And we're not going to let them do it. And if you have half a crowd, that's all right. Bye. Okay?
Good.
Bye.
You still at the office? No. Oh. Did you notice that the market went to 150 today? Yeah. How about that? 24 million shares. What is it? 24 million? 24 million. Yeah. Second biggest trade. Pretty hard to question whether the strength was there. Sure. Well, of course, it only went up 3 points. That's a hell of a volume. That's right. Full bar growing. You die. The other thing I was going to mention is we heard something behind Eddie Kennedy's friend. Yeah. So now that's the kind of thing Colson to work on. That's fascinating. Well, that's very important. He was late. Quoted Louis. The light and going on. Not only was he late, they were separated. From German people, right? Did anybody on our staff realize the importance of that? Quite an important story. I think so. And it wasn't just in time. It was also okay. Well, that got a very good play. That's just tell Colson to run that around. Keep everybody in the business. Right. Now that'll obviously get them on there. One of the other stories, the staff member, really funny. One of the staff members, Stupid said that he does that. That's what the senator does on purpose because it focuses attention on Germany cracked back and said this wrong. That's folks depending on him, but it's alienating from us. Of course, like celebrity. Yeah, you're fashionably late, maybe 5 or 10 minutes for the crowd. Never more than an hour and a half, like things like that. Stood up appointments. The whole series. Yeah. The other thing is that I just told Shelton today that they should rush this. I just got to call more brains for the fire. Probably the fire goddamn cabinet. No, really. He knew this. I told him to wait until today. Bill Elf was pretty upset about that too. Well, I'm upset. You can't charge him for this right at the last minute. I know, he can't charge him, so we're going to wait. I said postpone the week. That's not going to be better. I'm not going to make a big decision on this in that whole way. So it's done. Jake called me all concerned that Rogers did another thing like that. Interesting. He said that China and Russia was something about that it was something to the effect that we're working China and Russia, and if our moves on one side makes the other one touchy, then that happens. If one of that if move with one irritates the other, then that happens to be a dividend that we get out of it. Oh Christ! And, that's terrible. So Al was terribly disturbed, and asked, and I told him to go ahead and do it. If we could send a cable from Hughes to Rogers, saying that you would ask that there be no further discussion in Vietnam.